Good morning, my brothers and sisters. Welcome to episode 138 in the book of Genesis. Today we're going to talk about making a me altar, but it's not going to be for us. That's the trick here. So yesterday we committed ourselves to being not stuck with our limps. And Jacob moves on from his limps in his humility. He moves on from his losses and wounds and griefs and rebukes. So we're walking with the limp today. And today we're going to see where Jacob goes with his new limp. So we're going to find that Israel, his new name, that's Israel the person, brings Israel, the people, the nation of Israel, 16 people big, to Israel, the physical place. So kind of finally we're getting all three of those things in the same place in the same sentence. And why? Then we also get the motivation. Why does Jacob do this? And it's because of the graciousness of God. This is from Genesis chapter 33. I'm going to start in verse 8. Esau, his brother, Jacob's brother, Israel's brother, says, "What do you mean by all this company I met?" And Jacob answered, "To find favor in the sight of my Lord." So he's given him 550 animals as a gift. And Jacob said, "No, please, if I've found favor in your sight, then accept my present from my hand. For I have seen your face, which is like seeing the face of God, and you have accepted me. Because, please, verse 11, please accept my blessing that is brought to you. Because," here's the motivation for the whole thing, "because God has done graciously with me, and because I have enough." So Jacob, also named Israel, is saying, I have been blessed by God. God has been gracious to me. Thus he urged him, and he took it. So somehow in this story, Esau changes. We don't get the full story about that. Something changes Esau's heart. The last we heard from Esau is that he wanted to kill Jacob. So perhaps God's activity for Jacob has been to help Esau change. Maybe a slow change over 20 years, but it looks like it happens in an instant because he brought 400 men with him to help kill him, I think. So the promise in Genesis 28 is happening. In your offspring shall be a blessing for the whole earth. I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave you. And perhaps the Lord is fulfilling his promise to Jacob by working in the heart of Esau. And then Jacob has changed too now. Now he's not stealing from Esau, he's giving to Esau. And why is that? Well, because God has done graciously. So that's the motivator to this whole thing. So let me go on, verse 12. Then Esau said, "Let us journey on our way, and I will go ahead of you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are frail," so he makes an excuse here, "and the nursing flocks and herds are a care to me. If they are driven hard for one day, all the flocks will die. Let my Lord pass on ahead of his servant, and I will lead on slowly, at the pace of the livestock that are ahead of me, and at the pace of the children." I'm going to go at children's speed. I love that. "Until I come to my Lord in Seir." Now, Seir is 100 miles away, directly south of where they are. So Esau said, "Let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." But he said, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned on that day on his way to Seir, probably a 4 or 5 days journey. But Jacob journeyed, he goes west 4 miles to Succoth, and built himself a house and made booths for his livestock. Therefore he named the place is called Succoth, and that's 4 miles away to the west. And then here, verse 18, "And Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem." So that's another 20 miles west, which is in the land of, here's the important word, Canaan. So it's in the land of Israel. On his way from Padan Aram, and he camped before the city. And from the sons of Hamor, Shechem's father, he bought, so now he's laying down real roots with money. He bought for 100 pieces of money the land on which he had pitched his tent. And there he erected an altar, and then pay attention here, he calls it El Elohi Israel. El Elohi Israel, which says God of Israel. Now Israel, remember, is a nation, but it's also a person. So God, my God, is what he's saying. So Jacob buys with a piece of money a place in Shechem, which is in Israel. So now remember, way back in chapter 12, Abraham, when he first came in this similar direction, he had to pass. It's the first place he passed through on his way to the promised land. And so Israel, the grandson here, is not going to be distracted. So Israel, the person, if you will, Israel, Jacob, the person of Israel, goes to Israel, the place. And think about this. Israel, the person, brings Israel, the nation, 16 people big, to Israel, the place. And today, why? Because of the motivation, which is the graciousness of God. So Jacob returns to his roots. It doesn't seem random. If you draw a picture of Israel today that you see on a map, and I said you find the center of it, that's exactly where Israel finds himself. Just west of the Jordan River for 25 miles, between the Sea of Galilee and the Dead Sea, smack dab in the middle of Israel. And then he names it God of Israel, my God, because Jacob is that Israel. So we have this altar. So here's kind of a take-home point today. So like Jacob, how has God been gracious to you? And that's Jacob's primary motivator. Has he seen you, God? Has God seen you? Has God responded to you? Has he leaned in for you? Has he welcomed you into his kingdom, Mr. and Mrs. Knucklehead? Has he given you grace to see him? Has he forgiven your sins, secured heaven for you? What has he done for you that you couldn't do for yourself? Kind of everything. Has he done some heavy lifting for you spiritually? Forgiveness, redemption, atonement, election. What has he done to erase your sins, to put him behind his back so he doesn't see him anymore? Has the Lord been acting and performing to great effect? If the answer is yes, then we conclude, oh yeah, God is gracious. And then we say, well, what do I owe this gracious God? And Jacob is sticking a new name in an old place and in a new place. And he's making a me altar. He's making a Jacob altar. He's saying, this is the God who's not my father's God anymore. Now he's my God. He's making a me altar to him. And then he also recognizes what's the motivation for making this altar to the God to my God, to the God of me. Well, it's God's graciousness. I think we can imitate Jacob in a similar way. I think we can make an altar of gratitude, and I think we can recognize, why are we making an altar? Why are we making gratitude to the Lord? Well, it's because he has been gracious to us. So go make a me altar today. Thanks for listening.